All right, guys, thanks so much for getting on the call tonight. It is June the 17th, and it is going the Fit and Fabulous call. Sorry, guys. And Nyime is actually going to be talking tonight about branding yourself, because we all know as a Beachbody coach, Beachbody is not our brand. We are our brand. So we just have to be ourselves unapologetically. And she's going to go into some more detail about how to better brand yourself, to attract more like-minded people and more people who are wanting to do the business. So, Nyime, it's your turn, girl.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. I appreciate the opportunity for taking this call. So, love you much for giving me this opportunity, lady. First, I want to start off. I want to just give because I know a lot of people seem to ask me about my branding, though I've been tweaking it as I go along, but I just want to give a background as to who I am and the reasons why I really looked inside myself for branding. So who I am, I didn't grow up athletic. I'm not sure if you guys heard the story about me before, but I did not grow up athletic. I was actually overweight my whole life. And I'm 34 this year. So until I was about, I would say 25 is when I made a decision to really be conscious about my health. But the person you see today was created through coaching, hands down. The last year, my ability to be as bobo or just to look as fit, it came through coaching and accountability. So I just want to put that out there. So that's who I am. Again, and one of the reasons why I decided to really look inside myself as far as the branding, because when I first signed on as a coach, I was a discount coach. But as many coaches, they say, okay, I don't want to be salesy and I don't want to really have to pump Beachbody, things like that. So that's something that was out that I really considered before I hit the ground running as far as being a coach. So two things I want you to write down. Two things I want you to write down first. I want you to say, my business is about me, and I am a CEO. So those are two things I need you to write down before we start. Because I said that, well, the first one, my business is about me, because what I believe, and again, you're going to get my perception of branding and my thoughts, but my branding is about me because ultimately Beachbody is a brand all by itself. They already have their corporation. They have, the fitness celebrities, your Shanti, your Shaolin, and all those folks. But what people don't know us, so they're trying to get to know who we are. So a big part of our business is putting ourselves out there. And in putting ourselves out there, you have to realize that Beachbody is not your brand. Actually, what your business is you're technically you're CEO of your own coaching business. So how can you differentiate yourself from other coaches that are out there? Because there are 50 million other coaches that are out there trying to do the same things that you're doing. So a part of this branding is that you celebrate yourself. So what is coaching? What is branding, and what does branding really mean, and how of branding? So what is branding? Branding is pretty much that, in the definition of that is marketing, the practice of creating a name, symbol, design, or style that identifies and differentiates a product or service. And that's what we are supposed to do. We want people to really have an experience when they come to our page. You want them to have an experience when they decide to take an accountability group with you or a challenge group, so that they maintain a loyal customer or a coach. So thinking about ways how we can do that, how can we differentiate ourselves? So the question I ask myself is, why brand? And again, because there are 50 million other coaches out there, but there's not another Nyime, there's not another Kelsey, there's not another Lindsay, Ebony, or whoever else is on the call. There's not another you. So your brand being about you, you have to capitalize on your personality, capitalize on the things, your purpose, capitalize on your intentions, and really put those on a pedestal to make sure that people see who you are. And, you can't really hide. I shouldn't say you can't. I would encourage you not to hide behind Beachbody as a brand, because ultimately that's a lot of times people make the decision as far as who they want to partner with or who they want to have as their support system based off what you say on social media or based off the things that you put out there or the energy that you put out there. So they need to see your personality, and your personality in itself is your brand. And so that is some of the reasons why. So I want to go into, I will give you 7 specific reasons why to build your brand. 1, promotes brand recognition. So people recognize you based off the things that you constantly post. And I'll go into consistency in a second. But promotes brand recognition. It sets you apart. Again, this is about differentiating yourself from the other 50 million coaches that are out there. And again, it's not a competition by any means, but this is your business. And so in order for you to become marketable, you have to think about ways to really be a niche business. And what way can you provide a niche other than support it in a way that only you know how? So again, leveraging your personality and leveraging your purpose. So your brand tells people who you are, what your personality is, and what your culture is. Because ultimately, again, as Kelsey mentioned, you want to attract people that are like-minded. So again, not necessarily putting Beachbody on the forefront, but putting your culture, putting your personality, put the things that you love in the forefront. And Beachbody is just a complement to what you're doing. Shakeology is just a complement to the things that you have to offer, and just a part of your life, not all of your life. And so we've talked about in the past how some coaches kiss bags of Shakeology, or that's constant in their life. Or they constantly post about Beachbody, which is, that's their deal. But at the same time, what makes them different than any other coaches out there that just about sales, And I think for me, and I can talk about my personality, I relate to the person that's more genuine about who they are than just promoting a brand. So again, that's a kind of a personality that I relate to. And not to say you have to relate to me, but it seems as though I'm finding that more people relate to a person that's genuinely about just helping people, supporting people, and being themselves rather than putting the brand on the forefront. Number 4 is your brand gives you motivation and direction. And I say that because once you put purpose behind your brand, every single day you think about, oh my gosh, who can I motivate? Who can I inspire? Who can I touch? And then so people, because you're so excited about your, whatever your, not say necessarily your brand, it doesn't necessarily have, it could be your personal name, but because there's energy behind your brand, it creates motivation. It creates that domino effect where people start to look for that energy on your page or wherever you promote your business. And it provides you with direction as to, what to say next too, because, and as we talked about before, we're very energetic as coaches, or, ideally to be very energetic, because one day you can be energetic, talk about fitness and talk about this, but the next day you're partying and drinking, and that sends a different message. So you have to be cognizant of the motivation and direction of your brand. Where is it going? Where did it come from? Where is it now? And where do you want it to go? So again, be purposeful about the things that you say. And I go into that a little more detail in a second. Your brand, because you are putting motivation and energy behind your brand, behind who you are, behind the image of the company. But again, this is about you. So if you're putting energy into it, it will generate not only interest in you and in your company, but also generate referrals. For me, I can speak from experience from that. Whereas I don't know a lot of people, but quite a few people that follow me on Facebook or just social media, or Facebook or Instagram. And they have, these people, some of them have not become coaches, but they follow me for whatever reason, but they also invite a friend to follow me too. So, and I've noticed that, like, oh, now you have to meet Nyime, you have to meet this person. Or even some of my coaches, they brought coaches with them just based off the energy that I try to maintain within the company or the brand, I should say. And I like that. I like to keep the energy going. And I found that to be very helpful for me. So another reason why branding. Your brand delivers a strong message and delivers who you are. And when I say strong, again, you want to be consistent to maintain a strong brand, maintain your brand integrity in a way. And again, I go into what that means in a second. And your brand, you want it to have focus. You want it to really speak. Oh, can you see me? Okay. You want it to speak the same language, have the same energy, have, and not to say you keep, mimicking not to say keep repeating the same things over and over again, but you want to have the same energy level in all things that you do. In a way, it's kind of striving for excellence in your business. You have to think about it in a way of, all right, if I'm all in, if I am all in as a coach, and if that pretty much makes me a CEO of this business, I found that, of course, there are different levels, like we talked about before, there are different levels of coaching, whether it's your discount coach, your hobby coach, or the one that is in it for the business, they're a business builder. The business builder is a CEO, hands down, because they have that direction. They know the reasons why they're in the business. They know they have that strong why as to why they want to stay in the business. Yes, it's hard every single day, but what business that you ever started will be easy. I'm so sure that Mark Zuckerberg, or whatever his name is, that created Facebook, in the beginning it was hard. And he went through hardships, lawsuits and everything, but I mean, that's neither here nor there, but I'm saying it was very hard in the beginning. So you have to endure the race, but find that motivation to stick in it and find a direction. Of course, with your brand, you're going to play with different things, as I have and continue to do, play with different languages and play with different fonts and things like that. But find that thing, the purpose behind the brand. Once you find the purpose and the mission behind your brand, things just fall into place. And I want to say too, I've talked to a few coaches where they've said, "Oh, I just want to make people happy." I think that is amazing. I love when I meet people that just want to make other people happy. But the reality of this is, when you strive to make others happy, you give so much of yourself that you forget yourself. And so a part of you just wanting to make people happy, it's like it's the saying, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. So what I'm saying, I say that to say that you want your brand to stand on something. So you have your non-negotiables. You have lines that you won't cross. You have things that even in trying to make people happy, there are just certain lines, this is not a part of my, this is not a part of my mission. I have to take a step back, and when to take a step back. Let's see here. So how do I brand? And how you brand, again, is purposeful. You have to really think about you. Not only be yourself, but really take accountability and ownership as to who you are, and take ownership of your journey and the things that you've gone through in the past, either whether it was weight loss, whether it was or gaining weight, or just whatever your journey is. Take accountability for it and reflect on it and figure out, all right, when the dust is settled, what's the message that I really want to portray in this thing? And then that's when the ideas, sometimes it's hard to come with ideas, but that's when you really find out who you are at the and the foundation of who you are, and that's where you want to really put those things on a pedestal. And when I say the foundation of who you are, like, for example, of course, we may have 20 things that we love, 20 different things that we may love. But my recommendation is to pick 4 or 5 things that you are highly energetic about, because people feed off your energy. And pick 4 topics, one including fitness, of course, 4 topics that you are highly energetic about, and constantly post about those 4 or 5 things, and that is it. Because you are CEO, now it's about protecting your brand. and when I mean protecting your brand, is that every social media post, everything you put out online is now about, of course, it's your page, but because you're a CEO, it's your business. It's your business to be energetic. It's your business to be positive. It's your business to, to create energy in a way where people want to do business with you. So I say that to say, again, pick 4 or 5 topics that you feel so confident in and so energetic about that no one can really challenge you on them because you love them that much. My 4 things are faith, fitness, fashion. I love to have fun. And y'all always hear me posting about freedom. I want to be free. So those are the things I love. I love a lot of things in my life, but those are the 4 to 5 areas that I constantly post about. So because you want to become the subject matter expert in your life, and you want to become the subject matter expert on those 4 to 5 things. So people, when they see your page, again, if the message is consistent because you're constantly posting about those 4 or 5 things, but you want to become the subject matter expert. You might post about photography. That may be your thing. In addition to fitness, you might not be into fashion, but you may be into reading, or you may be into horseback riding, or whatever your thing is, but consistently post about whatever your thing is. And then people will look to you as that subject matter expert on, fitness plus these things. So that has really helped me as far as being intentional, being purposeful, and taking accountability for myself and the things that I love, and putting those on the forefront and creating energy behind the brand. And that also helps you define the brand. When you define the brand, those 4 to 5 things helps you stay consistent. And those 4 to 5 things are your non-negotiables. Your non-negotiables, not to say, you do them every single day, but those are the non-negotiables in your life where either someone cannot. Can you guys hear me? I hope so. Okay. So those are the non-negotiables in your life that either you do them consistently, or you dream about them consistently. Whether you dream about them consistently or do them consistently, you want to make sure that you're constantly, posting about those things. What is driving your business? What do you believe in? What is your purpose? And so whatever you believe in and whatever your purpose is, and you promote that, people also start to believe in your business and start to believe in that purpose. And they want to do business with you because you're consistent about posting those purposeful things. And ultimately your purpose becomes the brand, the brand in which you operate. Aim to build long-term relationships. If you think about any brand that is out here, whether it's Nike, whether it's Dove soap, or whatever product is your favorite product, if you think about those brands would not have made it if there were in long-term relationships behind it to push that brand forward. So in this coaching world, it's not just about, well, it is, of course, building your business. You have more coaches that are, want to partner with you, but you might also have just faithful followers that they want to, they are just consistent in following you. They give you referrals, they give you other customers. They might not just be about fitness, but they may just love what you do and they're excited about, who you are. And so I say just, focus on building long-lasting relationships, and you don't necessarily have to put Beachbody in the forefront of every conversation. It takes time to get to know people. And once you get to know people, you find out their needs, their wants, how many children they have, where they go to school, where they live, and just make friends. And ultimately, that conversation comes up. A conversation may or may not come up. I would say 80, 90% of the time it does. But a lot of times you don't have to force it, because if they believe in your brand, which is a lot of times why they have the conversation with you, they will ultimately either ask you the question, or it would just come up. Fitness will come up, some kind of way, just by different open-ended questions that you're asking, and they're more inquisitive. But you never really have to put Beachbody in the forefront. So I want to say that. never mimic another coach. Never mimic another coach. You can look at another coach's page, or just get different ideas, look, but I would never try to mimic another person, because the reality is this: you were born with a purpose. Each one of us on this line were born with a specific purpose. And if you're mimicking someone else, who's mimicking? Who's doing you? who's in your lane? No one. So you have to focus on you. And a lot of times, in order to focus on you and focus, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard not to compare yourself to others. But I would encourage you. Sometimes you just gotta, you gotta put your head down and just be the CEO of your life, and really just focus on your to-do list every single day, hands down, your to-do list, and focus on your brand and the messages you want to put out there every single day. Let's see here. Some practical ideas, some practical things that I want to share with you. Same things that I do. Then I hope that it helps someone. I'll look through, because I love fitness. That's for those who look at my page. I post about fitness 90% of the time. So I tend to look at more fitness magazines. See how the articles are looking, what kind of messages are out there, and I want to do something better. So I look at their things just to get different ideas of some different messaging. What are they saying? Things like that. How are they taking pictures? What type of activities are they doing? Who's in the, I'm a gym goer, I like to be outside too, but it's different pictures. I like to get different ideas about images. Be consistent in your fonts, color selections, and filters. For me personally, again, this is my perception of branding, is that it's about consistency. It is about people want to, when they come to your page, the look of it is consistent throughout. You may have graduated, like I have. I've just changed a few things here and there, but that you want to make sure your messaging is consistent. It's like reading a magazine. In a way, you want to make sure that the images are clear. The images are, again, readable. They're pretty, where, they are very colorful. So, and just be consistent about your language too, the energy that you put behind the language, and be intentional. Be very intentional about what you say, and put thought behind your post. And I'm not saying you got to put 3 days thought behind a one post, but you want to make sure that you are aligning your message with the mission of your brand. If your mission, or say those your non-negotiables that you talk about, but the non-negotiables 4 or 5 that you've chosen, you want to make sure that your posts are being intentional and speaking about, of course, or showcasing those things, but at the same time, they're inviting in a way where people are more inquisitive about your brand. So, I think of something to say, like, for example, I'm a lover of faith, so I'm very intentional and purposeful. I want to talk about freeing your spirit. So that's my freedom and faith. I generally put in one post. That's because intentionally I want to attract believers. So I'm very intentional about the things that I say, because I want to attract someone that's like me, that wants. And of course, I'm free, as far as faith, but as far as with their time and things like that. So I intentionally post about the things that I want out of my life, and hopefully someone receives that and we can partner. I want to admit, I still make mistakes to this day. I'm still playing with my branding. I'm not perfect by any means. I still want to do some tweaking. I love my color scheme, but there's different things that I like to play with every day, because not say every day, but, every so often I just take a step back and review the content, review the images and things that I put out there. And I'm like, okay, what can I do better? Because, I would be a fool to think that I'm perfect. So, and I realize that. So I'm very cognizant wanting to change or wanting to be questions. So I'm going to put myself on mute.
Wow, Naima, that was awesome. Oh my gosh, that was like so much information, so much value, and oh my gosh. I'm just like looking over at Dean like all the time, like, oh my gosh, this is so good. It really was. So
I'm
I
glad
love it.
you liked it. Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody have any specific questions for Naima? Let me think. I might have one. Let me think. Let me go. I mean, you covered all of it. It's so good. I like how you definitely touched base on like making, the 4 or 5 topics or 4 or 5 non-negotiables and be consistent with those things. Because I think that's so key is that way people really learn what you love and what you're passionate about. And they just, yeah, I think that's so key.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Such a good call.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. I know somebody has a question. Come on.
I'm just shy. It makes sense to everybody. There's no questions.
I'm not that good. I'm just saying. Come on.
How often does she reevaluate her brand?
How often do you reevaluate your brand?
That's a great question. Thanks, Kelsey. I actually, I would say monthly at this point. I would say every month I take a look back at my post. And it's for me, it's because I do Facebook and Instagram. So I generally go back and look at my Instagram account and look at the images and look at, things I've said, or like, for example, just before this call, I'll look at my Instagram accounts. Like, okay, what are some things that I need to put out there more that I know are my non-negotiables? I just haven't been saying them. But I would say monthly, and it's generally in the middle of the month. So by the end of the month, at least let me pick up a little bit, of some things that I know that I need to be a little more consistent about posting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So do you think of your brand because I know you mentioned, like Dove and the other, did you say Nike? I can't remember the two that you gave an example of. So do you think of your own brand kind of like those? Like Nike always uses the same fonts, always uses, the same, like the little logo. Like, do you think of your brand the same way? Like needing to be consistent with the same fonts and things. I know you mentioned using the same fonts, but do you think of yourself kind of like that? Like,
yes. So I guess in my head, once I decided that I was both feet in, once I decided that this is a bona fide, I'm going to operate as if I'm a big company and though it's just me right now, but I want to operate as if this is a bona fide business. And so in that, I want to treat it as a business. So I'm like, what are these big businesses doing? What makes them so successful? And they all started small. None of these companies started these big, companies. So what are they doing? And not to say I'm mimicking them, not by any means, but what are the fonts that I'm attracted to? So I'm gonna be consistent about using that same font that I'm attracted to. And it's changed for me. Again, in reevaluating my brand, I can go back. If anyone goes back in my Instagram account right now and scroll through the pictures in the beginning, oh my gosh, I was all over the place. But once I decided, okay, I really want to take time to be consistent about the way my images look, then I decided, okay, yeah, I'm just going to, or at least for a while, to see if there's something else that I like as far as fonts. Then I'll change it. But I want to be consistent as far as the fonts and things like that. Like the Nike, the Dove. Because in my head, you go to any shelf in probably in any store, Dove looks the same way. Every single package looks the exact same way. So in my head, our brand is the same thing. When someone visits our page, they want to have an experience. In my head, I'm like, okay, I want my brand to look the exact same way wherever it's pictured, and not to say that I'm not going to look the exact same way each time, but at least the wording will look similar.
Hey,
Dean has a question.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I know in the beginning for us personally, we had a hard time figuring out what Kelsey's brand was, and for yourself personally, how did you go about developing a strategy or figuring out what your brand was? Did you have a personal mantra, somebody that you looked to as okay, I kind of got the same things in common with them. I like what they're doing. And if so, who was that? And then how did you find them?
Yeah. That's a good question. Great question. So let me see. Before I became a coach, I've known, I guess, purposefully for who I am, like, okay, the things that I like. Like I've always liked fashion, but it wasn't until a coach that I was able to fit into a type of skirt that I like. They're just different things. So I would say that the actual brand was developed through coaching, because, a matter of fact, personal development has been key. When I say key to who I've become, it's been, and I can stress that enough to all the coaches on this call. When you're reading, don't just read, receive what it says. Really internalize it and think about how can I do better each day, and really strive to be your best each day. So that's how I've been able to tweak my brand, because I only think about it for myself personally, but then I said, what can I do to put it in the business? But then as far as people that I look towards, of course, talking to Kelsey in the beginning almost every other day would help me out a lot, tremendously. She's been a great mentor for me. And looking at social media, before I started my own thing, I was that person that compared myself. I would look at different coaches' pages or different magazines and be a spectator and like, okay, what, why are they doing this? And what are they doing that makes them so great? And so I said, well, you know what? I can do this too. If they can do it, I can do it. But then I had a personal, in my career, I have a mentor that spoke life into me, that, just more, and not necessarily about this, but just to my career. And she always told me, just be you, be yourself. And then I think that really helped me really take on everything, all my thoughts, my personality, and just really own it and just put it down into the everything I think about, I just put it into the business. I'm being honest with you. Everything I just and put it in the business, put the energy into the business.
Yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate you expanding on that a little bit for us. So, great call, by the way, or video chat, I should say, I guess.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So now I appreciate the opportunity. You guys are awesome.
We have 4 more minutes left in the call. Come on, somebody have a question. I like to get as much out of these calls, and I know Nyime loves the pressure of questions.
Their line's muted. How are you going to know?
They can unmute themselves.
Oh.
Hi. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So my question just is how do you get the creativity with the branding? Like, I can think of what my brand is all day, but I get stuck on how to be creative, how to post it. So I guess, what do you come up with? I mean, I know you said maybe, you look at some magazines or you look at other brands and what they're doing, but how do you come up with your own creative ideas on how to post it, when to post it, things like that?
Great question, Kim. I often ask myself the same questions. I ask myself, how do I come up with this stuff? And sometimes, it's just, I'm even honest with you. Sometimes I come up with things. I'm like, wow, where did that come from? and not boasting by any means, but I don't know. This is the way my mind works. So it's kind of, I say weird. I'm not gonna say weird, but the way my thought process is who can I touch? And I think a lot of times I think, okay, how to be intentional. Like I have a lot of thoughts. Well, how can I simplify it in a way that a regular person, but that any person, when they read it, it's very simple and they can understand it. And so that's what's helped me as far as developing language. I try to keep it as simple as possible. And sometimes I may get long-winded, but sometimes I have to catch myself. I read my post 5 times. I'm often late to work because I reread my posts and redo them sometimes, as you know that. So, but I try to simplify it because, your thoughts can take you over. But I keep the end user in mind. I keep the end user in mind. Who do I want to attract, and I try to put myself in their shoes, how they would perceive it. And not say you got to please everybody, because not everybody's you're going to be everybody's cup of tea, but at the end of the day, again, just being intentional, think about the outcome. You want to think, twice about the outcome. Does that make sense?
Well, that was awesome. Oh my gosh, that was just full of awesome information. We have less than a minute, so I think we rocked this call. Thank you so much, Nyime, for jumping on and speaking on this call today, and I appreciate it. And I love you all, and I will see you on Facebook. Have a good night, guys.